Hi, I'm Diane Hendricks and welcome to Fresh to Frozen and Back. This show is going to make your life easier. In each episode, I'll teach you how to prepare delicious, fresh, and better for you meals, how to freeze them properly, and then bring them back to the table at a later date. This show is all about chili beans. And my secret weapon to take your chili to the next level in no time at all is Bush's chili beans. With flavor infused into every bean, these slow simmered beans in a hearty chili sauce make your best chili even better. Bush's slow cooks their beans until tender and then simmers them in a chili sauce perfectly seasoned with garlic, cumin, and onion. Bush's is obsessed with quality, taste, and helping you make every meal beautiful with convenient, nutritious solutions. And the best part is Bush's has so many chili beans to choose from. Today I'm going to be making 2 recipes with Bush's white chili beans in a mild chili sauce and one with Bush's kidney beans in a mild chili sauce. Okay, so the first recipe is a meaty, meatless mushroom chili. It is so delicious, and here's all you do. I love to use mushrooms in place of meat when I want some more plant-based eating, which we should all do more often. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these mushrooms and I'm gonna chop them. Now you can put them in a food processor and grind them down, or you can chop them by hand. And I'm gonna show you, because I did it both ways to show you how easy it is to get that meaty consistency and texture of meat with mushrooms. So I'm just gonna take this many just to get started. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna get some of that water out of these mushrooms because we don't want it all liquidy, and mushrooms give off an enormous amount of water. So before I even start, here are 2 different ways of chopping the mushrooms, and it's really interesting. Actually, my producer even thought that this was meat, so I love that. That means that my mission was accomplished. So this is actually ground up mushrooms in a food processor. So you just pulse it and pulse it and pulse it, and then you're gonna cook it the way I'm gonna show you. And these are coarsely chopped and cooked the same way. So for chili, I prefer the coarsely chopped ones, but you can do whatever you want. This is great in bolognese. You can use it in any type of a meat sauce or wherever you would use ground beef. So let's get to chopping. Now with the mushrooms, you saw that I just made some simple slices just to get it together so that I can chop it all. So I like a long knife, and I'll just kind of go across and just start breaking it down and keep gathering it all together. Now we're not looking for exact pieces. It's not like we're making salsa and all of the mushrooms need to be in perfect sizes. So this is just a coarse chop. You can have some bigger pieces, some smaller pieces, but I do recommend not to go too small. So I think this is about good. And this is about 1 pound of mushrooms. And all these recipes are on my website, dianehendricks.com. And make sure you follow me on social media too, at Diane Hendricks, Instagram, Twitter, all of those things, YouTube. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit, I'm gonna turn on the stove, and I've got this to a medium-high heat. I'm gonna add a tiny bit of extra virgin olive oil. And you don't need to use as much oil in your cooking as you may think, because once the oil hits the pan, the more liquid it gets. So it'll kind of spread throughout the pan. So we've got this in here, just a little bit of oil just to get the mushrooms going. And then I'm just gonna put all these mushrooms into the pan. I love mushrooms. And you can use any mushrooms you want. If you want like a wild mushroom chili, you can use, you know, shiitake mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, which are one of my favorites. These are cremini mushrooms, and there's so many different types of mushrooms you can use. So I'm gonna let that cook down, and it takes about 15 minutes for this liquid to all kind of evaporate, come out of the mushrooms and evaporate, and that's what gives you that chewiness and that firmer texture of the mushrooms. So we'll let that cook down, and the rest is so easy. So we're gonna put everything into a crock pot. You can do this on top of the stove if you like, but I love crock pot cooking because you can set it and forget it and then come back to it later. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cook this on high for 3 hours. Then we're gonna tilt the lid to let some of that liquid evaporate, add the beans, and then do it for another hour. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to use a red bell pepper. You can use any, you know, it can be green if you like. I'm not the biggest fan of the green peppers as I am with the red ones. So we're gonna make these in a nice little dice. So we're gonna try to keep these as uniform as possible. And these are gonna be kind of like work with the size of the bean. And then every now and then, multitasking, every now and then just stir your mushrooms and you'll see all that water come out. Chop up these peppers. And again, you can use yellow, you can use red, green, whatever you like. Those little sweet ones are good as well. And then we're just gonna add that, boom, right to the crock pot. And that's what I love about the crock pot. You just add it and it's all gonna cook. An onion. Now I save, those of you who watch my show, you know I save all the ends of all of my vegetables in a Ziploc bag, and even the stems of the herbs in a Ziploc bag, and then I keep it in my freezer. And once the bag is full, I'll dump it into a pot, a saucepan, add some water, some spices, some garlic, whatever, and make my own vegetable stock. Then I'll strain it, stick it in the freezer, and then I have vegetable stock whenever I want it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just do half of this onion. I made some already because we're not gonna be doing this for 4 hours. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go laterally across the onion and kind of keep the knob on so I don't have to fight with this onion on top of the cutting board. And then I'll just go straight down without cutting through the knob. And then I get the exact size pieces that I like. I'm a crier with onions, so let's hope this one isn't a crying one. Even the stems of the onion give a good flavor in my little bag. Let me get this out of the way because it's not so pretty. So I'll put it over here. And let's stir up these mushrooms. Gotta hear that sizzle. So now that I can see that water is starting to come out. All right, so we're gonna add all of this, all these onions to the pot. A couple of things that you're gonna be surprised that I'm adding. Not yet though. So, I'm gonna add the celery. I'm gonna do 3 long slices down the center, and then I'm just gonna chop this up. You want a nice sharp knife when you're cooking. I have my own set of knives on my website, dianehendricks.com, and you should check it out because they're really awesome. Okay, and I've got a jalapeno that I'm going to cut without trying to touch it because I don't want the heat on my fingers. So, and this is optional, and it depends on how hot your jalapeno is. I love spice. So we're gonna put that in there. And again, I said I'm not gonna touch it because I don't want it to go in my, if I happen to scratch my eye or itch, you know, you don't want that. So I usually wear gloves when I chop a jalapeno. All right, perfect. It's all starting to come out. They're starting to cook. We only got a few minutes on that. Okay, next, peanut butter. It adds such a delicious flavor to your chili. I love it. Tomato paste, I'm obsessed with it. I love tomato paste. If something calls for a tablespoon of tomato paste, I put in 1/4 cup. I just love it. It's got such rich flavor and it just makes everything taste great. A little balsamic vinegar. I know, you're saying, what? It's good, I promise. Some unsweetened cocoa powder gives it a nice richness. A little hit of black pepper, a little hit of salt, and Bush's white chili beans. They're so delicious. They're great northern beans that have been slow simmered with garlic and cumin. Tastes so good. So what I did was I drained them. So I'm using this can, and I drained them for the chili, and what I'm gonna do is add the liquid first. So that's gonna get all that delicious simmered chili sauce flavor in there, and I'm gonna add the beans later. What else am I missing? That's it. Okay, so we have all of these great ingredients in here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of incorporate this tomato paste into, and the peanut butter into the vegetables that I have in here, and just kind of smash it around so that it's all nice and loose and everything kind of gets together. All right, so that's all mixed together. I'm gonna turn off these mushrooms, And I'm gonna use the ones that I showed you before. So, well actually these have, most of the liquid is out. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna add these mushrooms right in. And that's what's gonna give it that meaty chilliness. It's so good. And we're gonna stir that into it again. So now we have that slow simmered chili sauce with the mushrooms and the peppers and onions and the jalapenos and all of that flavor coming from that sauce. So what I'm gonna do is I'll put the lid on this and cook it on high for 3 hours. And then after 3 hours, we're gonna take these beans and put them right in. Gently, you don't wanna break them. You're gonna gently stir them in, very gently. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. Then we just tilted the lid, and then after you put the beans in, you just let it cook for another hour, and you've got yourself a delicious chili, and this is what it looks like. When it's all done, oh my gosh, it's so good. Oh, I forgot the cilantro. Can't do that. My mother hates cilantro, I love it. And to me, I can't have any chili without cilantro. So what, I have to add that in there. We need that in there, and we're also gonna use some as garnish as well. Okay, so I'm gonna take a good hefty pinch of cilantro, stir that in there. Oh my gosh. And we'll save this for garnish, and then when you're ready to serve it, you can just ladle it into bowls. I'm gonna use this little bowl. So what you do is you just kind of ladle it into the bowl that you're serving it in. I like those chili bowls too, the crock bowls. And then you can add a little scoop of either Greek yogurt or sour cream right on top when you're ready to serve it. Not too much. A little pinch of your favorite cheese. You can use cheddar, Monterey Jack, whatever you like. And then just a little hit of cilantro. Clean off the edges. And there's your white bean, mushroom, meaty, meatless chili. When we come back, I'm gonna show you what to do with the leftover chili and make this amazing mushroom chili mac and cheese. I'll see you in a minute. This is such a simple, family-friendly, delicious meal that you can get on the table like that. So what we're doing is we're using this leftover white bean mushroom chili made with Bush's white bean chili beans. And what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna take some of this and we're gonna heat it up. So we're gonna get it nice and hot, because this is the way you can get this on the table so quickly. So I'm gonna take about, I don't know, maybe 1.5 cups of this chili, that's so good, and we're gonna heat it up. And while that's heating up, which only takes a second because this stove is extremely hot, I love that, heats up real quick, okay. We're gonna take some panko. So I like the unseasoned because there's so many other flavors going on. So I'm gonna take some panko crumbs and I'm gonna add some olive oil, some good quality extra virgin olive oil. And I do this quite a bit whenever I want like a little crusty topping. So what I'm gonna do, if you can see, is I'm wetting all of the panko with the olive oil, and that's what's gonna give you a nice quick browning on top. Plus you get this delicious health benefits from the olive oil. And while this is heating up, I just wanted to let you know that beans are a really good source of plant-based protein and fiber. So it's a wonderful way to get that protein into your diet without eating meat. So it's wonderful. All right, now that's actually almost hot already. So what I have here is elbow macaroni that's been cooked. And all we're gonna do is stir that chili into this macaroni and then put it in this baking dish. So what I'd like to do is prepare the baking dish by spraying it with, again, a good quality extra virgin olive oil spray. And then I'm gonna take this chili, which is bubbling already, turn off the stove, and then I'm gonna stir this into this macaroni. Elbow macaroni. You don't have to use elbow macaroni. You can use whatever you like. If you want like little small shells is nice too. My kids used to love those wagon wheels when they were little. And this is just such a simple, simple dish. So we have the chili incorporated into the pasta, whatever pasta you choose. And then we're gonna also add some cheese. So I'm gonna use half of this cheese, a good quality shredded cheddar or like it's Monterey Jack, whatever you like, your favorite. And then we're just gonna turn this out into this prepared baking dish. I know, it's so easy, it's so easy. That's why when I make chili like this, I wanna make it in bulk because it freezes so great. And at the end of this episode, I'm gonna show you how to freeze everything. Now for this, you're not gonna have any leftovers of this, so you don't have to worry about freezing it. But if you wanna make this, what you're gonna do is you're gonna cook up the pasta whenever you're ready to make this down the road and just stir in the frozen and defrosted chili because you want that pasta to be nice and fresh. And it only takes 8 minutes to cook, so look at that, so good. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is top this with the rest of that cheese. So simple. So we're gonna take the rest of this cheese and just put it on top. You don't have to put cheese in if you don't like it. That's the beauty of cooking what I call on top of the stove. It's not like a precise baking kind of thing. If you don't like something, don't add it. And then we're just gonna distribute, I'm just gonna distribute this panko right across the top so we get this nice browning. And I'm gonna stick this in the oven, and at the end of the episode, this should be nice and done because this only takes about 15 minutes because all we're doing is heating it through and letting that cheese melt. So I'm gonna pop this in the oven, and when we come back, I'm gonna show you the simplest recipe for twice baked chili bean potatoes. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, and last but definitely not least, twice baked chili bean stuffed potatoes. These are so good, so simple, you're gonna love it. And here's all you do. I'm using Idaho potatoes, of course, because I love them. So what I've done is I've pricked the potatoes all the way around and I've baked them in the oven for about 30 minutes on one side, then flip it over and about 30 minutes on the other, or you can put them in the microwave, whatever you like. But Idaho potatoes are great because of their solid content, the content of their solids. So I'm going to slice these in half after they've been cooked already, and you can see the inside of these beautiful russet potatoes. So we're gonna cut them all in half. I love potatoes, so good for you. It's only about 100 calories in a potato, it's great. So this is a spoon from, those of you who follow the show, I grew up in an antique store, so I have all kinds of really cool stuff. And this spoon I love, I've had this my whole life, it was from my parents' shop. But what I love about it is it's very thin on the end, so it's great when I need to scoop something out. So I always use that. So what I'll do is I'll go right around gently. You don't want to break the sides, and if you do, it's no big deal, but you don't want to break through the skin. So what you're gonna do is kind of go in like a half moon kind of fashion and try to take out as much of the inside of the potato that you can without cutting through it. So I'm gonna go through all of these. Now the inside is nice and soft. You wanna make sure that the inside of the potato, it's fully cooked so that you can mash it up. I'm gonna lay these down on the baking sheet just like this. And we're gonna stuff them. We're gonna stuff them back with the filling. Okay, now, I'm gonna set these off to the side. All right, so this is a really long-tongued fork. I find it much easier to use. Now you can use a hand mixer, but sometimes it gets it like, it almost gets gummy if you use a hand mixer. So I'm just gonna go through this with this long-tongued, strong, sturdy fork. And you'll get like a rougher potato kind of, texture to the inside of the potato when you use a fork as opposed to a more like smooth texture, but a little bit more gummy if you use a hand mixer. All right, so I'm smashed this down with the fork, and now I'm gonna add some Greek yogurt. You can use sour cream if you like, but I like the Greek yogurt. I think it's just got such a nice little tang and a good flavor, and it's really good for you too. So we've got the Greek yogurt in here. I'm gonna add a hit of salt and pepper. And don't worry if you have a couple of little extra big chunks, that's a nice little bite in there too. But you wanna do all this mashing before you put the beans in because we don't wanna mash the beans. Okay, a little pinch of salt, some black pepper, a little bit of cheese. And for this recipe, I'm using Bush's chili beans in a mild chili sauce, the kidney beans. They're so delicious. Bush's kidney beans in a mild chili sauce are made with dark red kidney beans that are grown, cooked, and canned in the United States, then slow simmered in a hearty chili sauce filled with the robust flavors of ripe tomatoes, chili peppers, and cumin. I absolutely love the flavor of these beans. So now, and you'll see it's dry. So we've got the potatoes that are a little bit dry, but the sauce that we're gonna use and the beans that we're gonna use add so much flavor and liquid. So now that this is all mashed together, I'm going to add these beans. And that sauce is so good. So what I've done is I've drained the beans from the sauce from the beans, which is what I did when I made the chili as well. So I'm gonna fold these beans in gently, just kind of gently fold them in. And if you want more, add more. I mean, I've made that chili that I made earlier and added, 3 cans instead of 2 cans of beans. It depends on what you like. So good. Okay. So I've saved that reserved sauce because what I'm gonna do is drizzle that on top of the potatoes once I fill them. Okay, now it's all about just filling it up. So we're gonna use a spoon. I'll use this one. You can use 2 of them. Okay, so we're gonna just do this. You're gonna take it, put it inside of the potato, kind of spread it out, push it down a little bit. So yummy. The flavor with all that, the tomatoes and all those spices in that sauce just make it so good. And then we're gonna drizzle some extra sauce on top. We bake the potatoes on a baking sheet lined with foil or parchment paper, and then we're just putting it right back on. So it's not like you're gonna have to use another dish or anything. So good. And you really, when you bake a potato, don't bake it in the foil. You steam them rather than, if you like wrap it in foil, it steams rather than bakes. So I choose not to wrap them in foil. Look at that, see, it's perfect. Perfect amount. And then sometimes you have to rob from Peter to pay Paul. If one of them's a little bit empty, you just gotta take it from that one and give it to the other one. So like I got this guy's a little empty, and then you just kind of fill in where needed. So good. Okay. Don't worry about overflowing because it's great. And these freeze beautifully. I'm gonna show you the ones that I froze already. Okay, so now we have this beautiful potatoes. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the sauce and drizzle it on top. Look at that. All the flavors in there, so good. I'm telling you. You could eat these right out of the can. It's like camping in your kitchen. Open it up, grab a spoon, so good. They don't even have to be hot, they taste so good. Might as well use it all, but I have these other 2 that I'm gonna do later. I didn't want to take up your time. Okay, now we're gonna add a little bit of cheese to the top. You don't have to add a lot because there's a little bit in there already. And then when they come out of the oven, we're going to garnish them with a little bit of green onion. So let's get these in the oven. And while we're going in the oven, let's check out the mac and cheese chili and see how that's going. Let's see what we got. Oh, hello. Okay, check this out. All right, really? Come on, look at that. Look at that, it's so delicious and so simple. I'm gonna scoop that out in a second. So let's pop these in the oven. These take like 10 minutes. It depends on how hot your potatoes are. All we're doing is reheating. So let's get these in there. And scoop out and plate this so you can see it. You get the cheese in there. I can hear the panko crisping with the spoon. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. It smells so good. Believe it or not, I like the inside better than the tops. That's why I'm a good one to have. Same thing with like brownies. I don't like the crispy part as much as the inside. Look at that. Oh my gosh, it's so yummy. And then if you want to put a little bit of that crispy topping on, I want to do that for you so that you can see it. Look at that. That is chili bean mac and cheese. So good. We're gonna go through the freezing part in a minute. So when we come back, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about freezing everything, and then by that time, these potatoes will be out of the oven, and I'll see you in a second. Okay, so let's get the potatoes out of the oven. Oh my stars, look at these. Oh boy, they look so good, look at that. Yum, twice baked chili bean stuffed potatoes. So simple, so delicious. Look at this. We're gonna garnish these with a little bit of just gonna put these on this board, and then we'll garnish them with a little bit of green onion because I love that. Green onion goes so nice with potatoes. Let's do 2 of these because we have 6. Make it look pretty. Look at that. And then let me do 3 more. Such a simple dish that you can have on the table in no time at all. Let me chop up a little green onion. Look at that, so good. Just take a little, and you know, what I like to do is I'll take like these little sad pieces over here, chop them off, and then I'll put them in my bag with all the stuff that I'm using for my vegetable stock. Now, as you go down a green onion, obviously the closer you get to the white part, the sharper the flavor is. So you don't want to just like garnish one with all the dark green and another with all the light green. So what I like to do is kind of mix them all together so that you get a little bit of each. So you get a little sharpness, boom. I like to be messy too a little bit. Things in order too much don't look as good. There we go, that looks great. So that is your twice baked chili bean potatoes, and they freeze great. So here's what you do. These are frozen solid. So these are the same exact potato as those. So we have, what I do is I'll take them and I'll wrap them tightly in saran wrap and then put them in a Ziploc bag, labeled and dated with what they are and when they were made. Look at that, that's even got the garnish still on it. Hard as a rock. So that's all you do. But so what you do is you'll take these, put them on a baking sheet, just like this, and freeze them solid until they're rock solid. Then individually wrap them and put them in your bag and then stick them in the freezer. Make sure the bag says freezer safe, not storage. Get all the air out and freeze them. So that's the potatoes. You usually don't have leftovers because they're so good. Now here's the chili. So what I'll do is I'll take the chili, put it in a freezer safe container, masking tape with a Sharpie, what it is, and stick it in the freezer. If you like and you really enjoy this chili mac and cheese, which is so good, you can freeze these in the smaller containers. So there's all different sizes that you can use. So you can use all different size containers depending on how many people you think you're gonna feed. So if you make this in a big vat, do a couple of these, couple of these, couple of these, and you can make all different recipes with them. The mac and cheese, like I said before, you don't want to freeze it. You're not going to have any leftovers anyway. But what you want to do is just freeze the chili, and when it comes time to make that, just boil up some pasta and mix it all together. And that's it for this episode of Fresh to Frozen and Back. Please check out Bush's chili beans and all the other varieties of beans. They have more than 14 types of chili beans and over 35 varieties of beans, from cannellini beans to chickpeas, you name it. Please follow me on social media at Diane Hendricks. Check out my website, dianehendricks.com, and make sure that you tune in to Fresh to Frozen and Back whenever you have the chance. I'll see you next time. You might know Bush's for their famous baked beans, a secret family recipe. But did you know that Beautiful Bean Company makes the best chili beans too? Available in 14 varieties, from white chili beans to red kidney beans in a mild chili sauce, Bush's chili beans are slow simmered in delicious spices and hearty chili sauces to infuse flavor into every bean and make your best chili even better. And the possibilities don't end there. Check out these recipes and more on bushsbeans.com and grab some Bush's chili beans today.